What will you do when your money works for you? Welcome to the Resilient Investors Podcast, hosted by Victor, Kim, and Carolyn. Okay, team, take it away.
Welcome to the Resilient Investor Podcast. My name is Victor Gaxiola, and I'm your host for today's program. And I'm really excited about that because I get to introduce you to the Resilient Wealth Planning Operations team. Now, this dynamic team represents the backbone of our organization, working very closely with clients and providing ongoing day-to-day support for their questions, their inquiries, and the things that just happen in our business on a day-to-day basis. They also provide countless support for Carolyn, Kim, and myself. So we'll start the interviews with Christinia, followed by a conversation with Kaitlin, and then we'll end with Lucas. So I really hope you enjoyed today's program and understand why they're such key members of the Resilient Wealth Planning team. So joining us today from Kentucky, it gives me such great pleasure to introduce everybody to Christinia. So Christinia, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's funny because we talk to each other almost every day, so to be doing this in a format, an actual podcast and such. But we thought, as you know, that this entire program has been focused on meeting the operational staff, and they're really the backbone of resilient wealth planning. And of course, we would not be where we are today if it wasn't for you. And I think everybody should get to know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Christinia.
Oh, goodness. Well, let's see. I got started in the industry back in the mid-90s, which dates me, I know, but I was young then. But I started working at Deferred Comp in Kentucky. And from there, I started getting my certifications, and God just opened up doors, and it brought me to Resilient.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that we sit there and we say, yeah, we've been in the business for a while, but what that translates to me, and I think it translates with a lot of people we work with, is the fact that we've seen so many different markets. We've seen the ups and downs. We've experienced so many different geopolitical events, different presidencies and administrations in the White House, tax changes, interest rate changes, inflation, markets, booms, busts. And so with that comes experience. So I like to say that we're battle scarred from the standpoint that when it comes to working with clients, and I know this is the case with you, there's very little that we haven't already seen.
That is very true.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the background. It's like, what is it that brought you to financial planning or financial services in general? Like, what was there a passion in that for you?
I've always been great with numbers. Mm-hmm. I won awards in algebra in high school.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did.
That. That's awesome.
Yeah, I won, I would get all the questions right on our exams, and then I would get the bonus questions right. So I literally 2 years in a row won awards in algebra.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Spanish.
I never knew that. See, you learn something every day. That's awesome. And I know that you interact so much day to day with a lot of our clients. So tell us a little bit more, share what is your role? Like, what is your day to day?
Oh, goodness. I love people, so some of my main focuses is the financial planning piece, of course, where I love to research somebody's, what they have and look for areas that we could help improve. And then I work closely with you and Kim and Carolyn and give you my thoughts, on ideas, and we work as a team. And that's one of the things. And then the most exciting now is the estate planning piece.
Yes.
So I've already got several under my belt. I'm learning something new each time that I do one. So I enjoy that a lot.
No, that's great.
Sitting with somebody. Yeah, it's like you're sitting working with someone over their end of life goals, what they want to meet, and having lost my mom recently, and waiting until she was on literally her deathbed, to get those details of what she really wanted, because she wasn't one that wanted to talk about it because it was morbid to her, but being able to work with clients and get them to think about this now, so that way their loved ones aren't waiting until that moment when they're in their final hours. So to me, it's important.
Well, and I can't think of anybody in the team actually that's best suited to assist people through that conversation, given your own personal experience. Um, we here at Resilient Wealth Planning, we think of you as our chief CNO, our chief nurturing officer, because you just have such a great demeanor and rapport with people. You have a connectivity. I think it probably has something to do with the fact that you're from Kentucky. I mean, really. I
The
mean, there's
Southern
just this
charm.
warmth, that Southern charm that comes through. I mean, our the people that we work with love talking to you, and I think part of it is that you genuinely care. You talk
I
about
do.
like a bedside manner. You definitely have it. And that's one of those things that in today's world, I think, as things moving so quickly, people operating through apps and websites and calling 800 numbers and not having that personal touch, it is refreshing to have someone who not only will listen and understand and have the experience to help, but is
Right.
empathetic. You know, empathy is definitely deep in need in any industry, and especially in this one, because I've shared in the past, and I'm not sure if you know this, that second to going to the dentist, going to a financial advisor is one of the things that people fear the most.
Right.
You know, because with it comes judgment, comes a feeling of inadequacy oftentimes. But you do such a good job of putting people
Thank
at
you.
ease when it comes to that. So, speaking of that, I mean, that is kind of the role that you play here. You've been helping with the estate planning. You've been helping with so many different facets of people as they start onboarding and become clients and
Right.
move through the process. Now, you mentioned the paraplanner. So tell us a little bit, how is a paraplanner different, let's say, from a financial planner, or the things that maybe Carolyn and Kim do?
Um, I'm a baby. I call myself the baby, the toddler part. I go in and I get all the data.
Hmm.
I research, I get your tax returns, your statements for your bank, for your investments, all of that. I piece it together and I enter it in the system, and it helps me to get to know that client better.
Hmm.
There was this one where the person was looking for budgeting,
Hmm.
and I was able to look at their spending on their credit card and their bank statements, and it's like, you're spending way too much at 7-Eleven, for the big gulp,
Too many big
So
gulps, too many Slurpees, huh?
too many Slurpees, exactly. So I took it to the advisor, and the advisor's like, "Oh, I didn't notice that."
Hmm.
And they were able to have a conversation with the client and say, Costco's down the street. Go get
Hmm.
you a case of this, and
Hmm.
take it with you. So,
Hmm.
which helped save that client some money.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a small story, but it's things
Yeah.
like that. I really enjoy that. I think that that's one of my God-given gifts, is that I'm
Yes.
able to research,
Hmm.
and I love tearing stuff apart like that
Hmm.
and just digging in deep and just looking at the whole picture and finding
Yeah, and
ways to help a client.
absolutely. And I would say you're very inquisitive about that from the standpoint that as we bring you into, let's say, a client conversation, whether it's at the beginning stages of the relationship or if it's an established relationship, even, and we bring you into one of the review meetings, whether it's an investment review, a planning a review, or at the onset, let's say a discovery, that Kim may take on, a lot of the responsibility of asking some of the key questions and such. But just having you be part of that conversation, you'll bring up certain things that maybe we might not so much that we missed, but we didn't think to ask. And so
Right.
I think that team, you mentioned the word team, that's
The team.
exactly our approach. Whether
Exactly.
it's on the investment side or on the planning side, or now, in the estate planning side. And with Carolyn bringing in the tax planning bit, has certainly provided, that full facet of financial service support for families and individuals. So it's been really great. I want to move on here by asking you a question. We're resilient wealth planning, and so I'm curious, from your perspective, what does resiliency mean to you?
Oh, oh, let's see. Resilience to me, or resiliency to me, is having the tools in place for when a crisis happens, like the death of a loved one or a job loss or whatever curveball life throws at a person. Resiliency is being able to put the things that you have in place and get yourself back to the top. You're bouncing back, you're being resilient,
That's
whether it be faith or, hopefully faith, but whether it be faith or just your team, behind you to support you to get you back where you need to be. That's to me resiliency.
I I love that, and the bit that you kind of added to is this idea of a we, is a we, get
Oh, of
help,
course.
a team, a group to get you back in there. So
You
it's
can't
not
do it
just
alone.
the individual. So that's why it's important to have these support systems, and you definitely have been that, for our clients. So we really appreciate it. We appreciate you. Um,
Thank you.
okay, so this is the question I hadn't prepared you for, and that
Uh-oh.
is, what are you enjoying these days? A favorite app, a favorite podcast, a favorite book, or something on media? What are you into these days?
Right now, my swimming pool.
What was that? I missed it.
My swimming pool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
With the heat in Kentucky, it's like, oh, such a God-given blessing.
That's nice. Well, I like
Yeah,
what I like about that is it doesn't require an internet connection. You can just pretty much go outside,
exactly.
just nice sunny day, and take your time and take
Yes.
a favorite drink or cocktail or enjoy and
Oh, it's
take
that
some time.
glass. Yes, that glass of red wine. Just go
There
sit
you
in
go.
your, in the pool in your float while Annie does, what are those called? Where she jumps off cannonballs while she does
Cannonballs.
cannonballs.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right.
She'll do a cannonball and splash me, but my wine is covered, so we're good.
Well, having been in Kentucky, I would have expected to say instead of glass of wine, because you would think that more in California, you'd be doing it with some bourbon. Yeah,
Bourbon.
you got a lot of
Yeah.
great places in and around your neck of the
Oh,
woods.
we do.
Okay, and
I
then my
literally
final
grew up across
question.
the street from, or
Oh,
not
do
across the
you?
street, across the river. When I was
Wow.
growing up, I grew up
Hmm.
across the river from Buffalo Trace.
That's right. That's right. We had the good fortune of visiting there with you when we were there
Yes,
last
yes,
September. So that was a great treat. Loved getting out there. Would love to spend a little bit more time. I need to get back for the Derby at some point. It's on my
yes,
list.
100%.
Okay, so the closing question, and this is how I'd like to end today, is just asking you, as we ask and challenge not only our clients, but just pretty much everybody, and that's our tagline, which is, what will you do when your money works for you? So, Christinia, what would you do?
What would I do? I would travel. Um, I've always wanted to go on a mission trip,
Hmm.
so I'd probably go on a mission trip and help others because I love helping other people.
That does not surprise me one bit. So, everybody, this is Christinia. Like I said, part of our backbone of a deep bench of just amazing operational staff, and the contributions they made and the experience they bring to it really rounds out the entirety of who we are. Uh, so thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great, great
Thank you for having me.
weekend, great rest of the week.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
All right.
So, continuing in the introduction of this dynamic backbone of our operation at Resilient Wealth Planning, it gives me great pleasure to bring in Kaitlin to the program. Kaitlin, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great. Let's start where we've been started with everybody else. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I originally started working with Carolyn back in 2021. I came from the financial planning and personal finance industry, starting way back when I started college, working in the university cashier's office. Ended up going into banking, insurance, financial planning. Ended up on the corporate side of financial planning and really enjoyed a lot of that as far as just the fast pace and all the things I got to learn in that setting. But after some time, really felt heavy on my heart that I was missing more the personal interaction, client facing type work. Really wanted to get more people time in my
Hmm.
day. And so, yeah, I met Carolyn and we realized how similar we were. And right away, we're just kind of like, let's do this together. So it kind of took my background experience, um, working in personal finance. I do have, I've come from a lot of different angles but at the end of the day, I just really love numbers and people. So that's kind of how I got here.
And it is very much a numbers and people industry. And I'm kind of curious, just from the standpoint that you have had that experience. I mean, a pretty long breadth of experience in a different bunch of different facets within the financial services space. And I think that one thing that you definitely bring to the team is that experience of working in a larger corporate setting. Which brings with it a whole lot of like processes and procedures and approaches, and you've applied so much of that at Resilient Wealth Planning. So tell us a little bit about the role that you play within our team and some of the areas that you focus on.
Yeah, so my official title is Director of Client Experience. So I do manage communication with our clients, but I also pretty heavily lean into our systems and processes. So that definitely comes from my background. It's a balancing game because there's a big difference in working in, a small firm and a team compared to a 10,000 employee company who, so sometimes I have to pull myself back and be like, it's okay if we're not so rigid. That's what makes us special. But I do balance the two to be efficient, make sure nobody's time is wasted, make sure clients are well cared for. At the end of the day, I act as a bridge, specifically most of the time between Carolyn's direct clients and making sure that we keep communication clear, effective, simple. And then behind the scenes, I'm just trying to make sure everything is running smoothly. And then I just do that in both the tax and the financial planning side of the work that we do here. And my goal is just to make sure that our clients feel that everything was seamless, supportive, start to finish, and that at the end of the day, this whole process of financial planning, which can feel really overwhelming and heavy, hopefully, clients can walk away just feeling like that wasn't so bad.
Right. And that's one of the things that I think has been really exciting about the coming together of the formerly Techro Financial into the Resilient Wealth Planning and then kind of merging the two was that we did spend a lot of time collectively, and you were a big part of this, of identifying our best practices because we were operating on similar systems, using some of the same software in many cases. And when it came to like workflows and operations, it was like, well, how do you manage this and how do you manage that? And then looking at the overlaps and really from that exercise, I think coming up with the best practices to, as you are saying, improve that client experience to be as seamless and as easy and seamless and frictionless, and that it's a process that's digestible, like that people can kind of see the starting point, the midpoint, and the end point.
Yeah, definitely. And, having that whole process really, thought through ahead of time, I think if we can be really clear, that means clients know what to expect. And at the end of the day, that just makes everybody happier.
Absolutely. Well, you've been doing a great job of assisting us to just be more efficient, which means that we can be in a situation where we can be much more nimble, and moving forward, but without losing that personal touch, without it being overly, constructive, I guess you could say. So I'm curious, and I've been asking this question of everybody. So what was it about the financial services industry that kind of attracted you?
Yeah, so as I said before, people and numbers are kind of my thing. In high school, my two favorite classes were accounting and business law. I don't know, they were just, and I right away found out though that what I liked about accounting was, again, it's the math side of things and not so much the tedious tracking aspect. And I'm too much of a people person to be only in the numbers side of things.
Mhm.
So that just really naturally led me to, not only loving, small business and, numbers, but also getting to interact with people. Um, like I said, I like working in any capacity, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's with the team or however it might be, with just really helping people, feel seen, heard, taken care of. And, finances are such a big part of our life. I'm a natural planner, and it took
Mhm.
me not too long to realize not everybody's like that. And, once I just sort of found this niche,
Mhm.
and knew, okay, I like the number side, I like working with people. Eventually, the world of financial planning just sort of appeared, and here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. And like Carolyn, you are also out in Wisconsin. So just in, you know, illustrating the fact that our entire team is spread across the country and that we can actually do a lot of the work remotely, but also have that personal touch. Now, you've been with Resilient Wealth Planning much longer than we've called ourselves Resilient Wealth Planning, at least on the California side. But I'm curious, what does resiliency mean to you?
Yeah, so I think anytime you ask somebody a question like that, they're going to take it from their own personal perspective. And one of my core values is really freedom. I love freedom in every sense of the word. I love everything about it. And to me, resiliency and freedom are very tied together, because resiliency is having, flexibility and confidence and being able to adapt and bounce back, which sometimes that's can come from being in a place of freedom, not tied down, not overwhelmed. So to me, those are two joint concepts, where it's, resiliency is being in a position to be able to bounce back.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, I think it's a great definition, and it's interesting how everybody has a different take on it. So I've got two more questions for you. The first question is there a podcast, a book, or a movie or something that really calls to you right now that you're enjoying?
Oh, that's such a tough question. I'm a really big reader.
Hmm.
I do listen to podcasts. A lot of the podcasts I listen to I listen to finance podcasts. I listen to, business organization podcasts. I also listen to a lot of psychology podcasts because I really love how behavior works. Um, but I'm a big reader, and I guess I'll ask you, do you want to know as far as like nonfiction or fiction? Like,
I
you
like
want to know what
nonfiction.
nonfiction? Yeah. So one of the books that had probably, a really big impact on who I am and how I work here and how I try to see things is actually the story brand books.
Mm.
I love the idea of, to me, it's almost like a workflow for working with people. It's like you're bringing people through this process of helping them be the hero of their own story, and that aligns so strongly with the financial planning process. And I apply it to many different areas in my life, because at the end of the day, I do want to serve and I do want to help people. And the best way I can do that is to help, people be the heroes of their own story. And, I'm just here in the background trying to help make it happen.
Okay, I love it. And then the final question, and we'll close with this, is our tagline is, "What will you do when your money works for you?" So when you start thinking about your own retirement down the road, what do you think you would like to be doing once your money starts working for you?
Yeah, so I am retirement in the sense, the traditional sense is far away for me. I do like to think about, my husband and I actually talk about this a lot, of getting to that work optional state.
Hmm.
And that's a little bit clearer for me, because the idea of fully retiring actually doesn't sound that appealing. I feel like I have so much energy and so much more to give, and
Hmm.
so many things on my to-do list to do. But getting to that stage where, work is optional and we work to continue to serve and to continue to help people, but not necessarily from a point of have to, is, the more time I can spend outside, the more time I can spend with my family. We love to kayak, we love to hike, we love to we like to travel, so the more I can do stuff like that, and, have that maybe more balanced life,
Hmm.
and, watch my kids grow up, that's what that would look like for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I am so excited to share, your story, and everybody on this. Like I said, the backbone of our team is really this operations group that does an outstanding job of supporting not only us but supporting our clients more importantly. So thanks for joining us, and this is great.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so joining us from the California Home Office of Resilient Wealth Planning and representing the next generation of financial planning as part of the team, I'd like to introduce and welcome Lucas to the podcast.
Hey, everybody. I'm Lucas.
This is Lucas. Now, like I said, newest member, next generation. He joined us earlier this year. He's been with us for a little over 6 months. So why don't we start there, Lucas? Tell us a little bit about yourself so people get to know you.
Yeah, so I am 23 years old, fresh college graduate as of last May. I studied financial services, a subsection of finance at San Diego State University. I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, so been here my whole life, and came home after college looking for something, worked a part-time job in the meantime, just searching. And so I ended up connecting with Kim on LinkedIn, and Got to know her a little bit in person for a couple weeks and decided it was a good fit for me. And I think the same for you guys. You kind of saw a good fit in me. So I've started working in January full time, and I've enjoyed every day here. So yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you've enjoyed every day. And that is true. I mean, one takeaway for those of you listening, especially those that are young, is that LinkedIn does work. In
Yes.
looking and trying to seek
Yes.
opportunity, making sure you have a good profile, which Lucas did have. And then he proactively, and to his credit, reached out to Kim, and he came into the office tail end of last year. He shadowed us for a few days, and it was really more for us to gauge what his interest level was. And for us, it was really, as we've pointed out, as you're going to come to learn as you get to know us at Resilient Wealth Planning, that we are and feel very much like family. So part of it was just identifying, is Lucas a good fit? And he definitely was. So he came in January. You've been learning, and like I said, been drinking from the fire hose, because this business changes and there's so much to learn. So tell us a little bit about what kind of role, what's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So I'm a client service associate. I handle everything from transactions, if you guys need to take money out, bring money in, as well as paperwork for your new accounts and existing accounts, and also just any sort of questions. I'm usually the first line of contact that clients can reach. I'm monitoring all the communication services and keeping an eye out for any important questions coming through, and just making sure all advisors are notified and up to date on what their clients are asking from them, as well
Yeah.
as phone lines. I am the first to pick up the phone too, usually.
Yeah.
So
Lucas has become kind of aging myself, kind of like our de facto modern switchboard operator, from the standpoint of, we mentioned in the last podcast in the introduction of our team that one of the things that differentiates us is that it's not just an 800 number. Even though we have an 800 number, it's an 800 number where people actually pick up the phone and have a conversation, or at least we'll get back to you. In addition to our text platform, which is the team text, which means that once someone sends us a text, it's something that we can monitor and be able to respond as a team. And we've tasked Lucas with that responsibility of, like, if a question comes in and it's something that's more financial planning related, it'll go to Kim or it'll go to Carolyn. If it's investment related or having to do with money in motion, it's likely to be me if I need to execute a trade or do something in order for us to be able to follow through with that transaction and get people what they need. It's been a fast track for Lucas, and I got to say, from he's been sitting in on a lot of our financial planning and investment management meetings. I think you've been learning a lot. So I'm kind of curious, Lucas, coming in here with like fresh new eyes and a fresh perspective, what are some of the main takeaways you've picked up in the time you've been with us?
I'd say the biggest thing regarding being with you and Kim has been how much trust you guys have from your clients. You guys have developed these relationships over, 10 plus years in some cases. And it's really cool to see that, when I first started, you guys said, oh, it's kind of like family, with clients. So when I had finally come to see that in person, it was really cool and kind of eye-opening, like, okay, I want this for my future. For those listening, I do want to be a financial advisor myself one day and be in Kim, Victor, and Carolyn's shoes. So it's really cool to see what my future could look like from
Yeah.
that
Well,
perspective.
and you're doing great from the standpoint that you are definitely in that trajectory. You have, I would say, the it factor that would make you an exceptional financial planner and financial advisor. Your relatability to people, your natural curiosity to ask great questions, which I think is all part of the role, and just a likability, which I think is part of the role, because a lot of people may not know this, but next to going to the dentist, visiting with their financial advisor is probably what scares people the most when it comes to working with professionals. But we're friendly people. I don't understand that, and we're not poking around your mouth. It's just asking you questions. But I want to go back to your financial planning, like studying that in school, or at least preparing to learn about the industry, and then coming in. What is it about financial planning outside of the relationships that really kind of appeals to you?
I like this question because it took me a while to kind of figure out what I wanted. So when I first started school, I was in accounting. I didn't like accounting. So then I transferred to finance. And when I was learning about the different paths I could take in finance, investment banking, private equity, none of them really clicked for me. I always kind of just wanted something personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to find out that there was a very personal side of finance called personal financial planning and investment management. Learning about that was, once again, another big eye-opening. It just felt like the path that I wanted was just right there. So being able to study that and go into that and learn more about that and how it's really a problem-solving thing. It incorporates all parts of your brain, I guess. You got to figure out everything in terms of
Mm-hmm.
emotional status and, financial status. I really enjoyed learning about that. And so now seeing that in person, seeing how you guys tackle problems and figure them out and stuff, that's what, aside from the relationships, I am a people person. Um, the problem solving and, that stuff really gets me going. So it's really
That's good.
exciting.
Well, and it is that, and I think that part of it, what surprises a lot of people, actually surprised me because, as you know, I went to school to study about interpersonal communications. I didn't really have that background when it comes to finance specifically. I went into UCLA as an economics major, and much like you, I just found it very boring. Supply, demand, it just seemed all very theoretical, and that ended up moving me more into communications, which was really dealing and having conversations with people and understanding, the nuance of how you translate a message from person to person in small groups and even in larger groups. And so one of the things that I found surprising, and I'm curious to your take on this, was when I first started doing this now back in 2004 with Kim. Even though I went through a very formal training program with A.G. Edwards at the time to understand the nuance of like finance and understanding investment and portfolio construction and models and the differences between equities within equities and fixed income and all the stuff that I think is very learnable. What I couldn't have fathomed was just how deep and important it was to be able to relate to the behavioral side of finance, which is when people come to us, they usually have a specific need, and it's identifying that need, and then sometimes getting to the core why they would be concerned or why they may not have the higher tolerance for risk. So there is a very almost a sociological psychological behavioral component, which really fascinates me because I am just fascinated by human behavior, and I think that's an area that's of appealing to you. Have you found that as well in the short time you've been with us, how someone wouldn't necessarily need to know the numbers as well as knowing people?
Yeah. Um, Money is such an important part of people's lives, and everybody has a different relationship with money.
Mhm.
So when they come in here and everyone has a different problem or a different need or something, it really kind of, ignites that excitement again, to say, okay, well, every day is going to be different. Everyone has a different problem. Everyone has a different situation. Um, so it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I'd like to think of them not as problems. I'll think of them
Right.
as challenges, but we're here to
Right.
meet that challenge. So, speaking of challenges, as you know, resilient wealth planning, the name really means a lot to all of us. So, I'm curious as to what the word resiliency and the concept of resiliency means to you.
I think of a shield when I think of resiliency, resilientness, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And attached to that shield is a hero fighting some monster or something, being brave in the face of, danger.
Mhm.
And so I'd like to think of us advisors and people as the hero, shielding whatever village or town from that monster or whatever could be the market turmoil. So I think that's my concept of being that shield, that hero for those people.
Uh, I like it. I like it a lot, Lucas. That's good. The shield. It's interesting to get everybody's take on it, and we all kind of come at it from the same perspective of like offering protection, and in some cases, being able to power through, any sort of adversity or challenge that falls in front of us. But I like how you made it where we're the ones holding the shields. We're the ones protecting our clients and really advocating on their behalf and fighting on their behalf. That's a good take. So before I let you go, Lucas, I wanted to ask you two questions, and I hadn't
Okay.
prepared you for these two questions. So the first one is just curious as to like, do you have a favorite app, book, or podcast that you've been enjoying recently?
Out of any, it doesn't have to be any theme.
Doesn't have to be. What have you been really
Okay.
enjoying lately?
I would say it's a comedian podcast, but it's Shane Gillis. It's called Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, MSSP. They're two comedians and they're just super funny. They just talk about life and stuff. So um, when I go on walks, I really just listen to that, and I'm pretty much just cracking up the whole time. So that's a fun one.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. And then the second question is, what are you most looking forward to within the next year?
Within the next year, I'm definitely looking forward to establishing more credibility, like within this, my career, being fresh and new and starting. It was kind of daunting at first, but as I'm starting to hit the ground and get planted, I'm really looking forward to just learning more and doing stuff like that, and also just figuring out more about my life and my 20s and what life is like post graduation. It's been an adjustment, but also it's been very interesting, I'd say.
Well,
Very lucky.
you've made an impact to the entire team already. I will say that having you come on board has rejuvenated the entire team because you bring a fresh perspective. Like I said, you represent the next generation of professional financial planning at the Resilient Wealth Planning team. I really like your take. I see if Kim and I are G1, Generation 1, Carolyn is Generation 2, you now come representing that third generation, which brings with it a whole, unique perspective and approach. And so I just want to thank you, for being part of our team because not only has it given us a whole lot of energy, but it's given us another perspective that we need to be mindful of just because we do serve a lot of people that are still working. And many of those people who are of your age, are starting their careers, which is in the best when they have the best opportunity for growth and understanding that if they establish a strong foundation, which you are, right, that is going to reap many, many benefits as they get older and then eventually, approach retirement. So thanks for being on the show. I hope everybody it got to know you a little bit better as they've gotten to know the rest of the key operations staff, key member of our team. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So there you have it. That is the amazing Resilient Wealth Planning Operations team. And I hope that even in those very brief interviews, got a better glimpse and understanding of the different personalities and the diversity of thought, diversity of age, and experience that we have here at Resilient Wealth Planning. So if you are interested in learning more, I highly encourage you to visit our website, schedule an appointment, or you can send me an email at victor@resilientplanning.com. But I do hope you're enjoying these podcasts, and we'll tune in as we release new shows on a regular basis, tackling current issues, having conversations, and of course, using this as a platform to educate and inform going forward. So once again, I'm Victor Gaxiola, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Resilient Investor Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. To get the latest updates from our team, please visit us at www.resilientplanning.com or follow along on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Resilient Wealth Planning and Cambridge are not affiliated. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions.